What's up, you guys? My name is Preston James, and you're listening to The Reflection, where we do just that for ourselves and our community so that we may lead a healthier, more positive, and productive lifestyle. Welcome back. I really appreciate you guys always tuning in. Thank you. Hopefully you got a chance to listen to my previous 2 episodes on commitment and manifestation. Like I always say, I thought they were really good episodes. But I'd love to hear what you guys think. I really would. So please shoot me an email, leave a message on YouTube at thereflection_PJ, or shoot me an email at thereflection.pj@gmail.com. I would love to hear some feedback on what you guys think about the episodes, maybe some insight into what you guys think I should talk about next, somebody I should interview or people I should interview, or just your overall thoughts and how you're doing and what's going on in your life, especially around the holidays. I will try to respond to as many people as I can. Definitely want to interact with you guys. It's about the community, right? It's about keeping in touch with each other. And on that note, and for episode 7, I guess I kind of want to call this a bonus episode. It's still going to be episode 7, but it's like a bonus episode. But with that in mind of what I was just referring to and keeping connected and community, I wanted to talk about relationships. Dun, dun, dun. Man, that's a heavy one, right? Relationships. And with that being said, relationships, I wanted to give you a definition that I found. Don't necessarily want to tell you where I found this definition, but this is a definition I found. A relationship is a connection or association between 2 or more people, groups, or entities. It can be characterized by various types of interactions, including emotional, social, professional, or personal dynamics. Relationships are built on communication, trust, and shared experiences, and they can take many forms. Excuse me. So that was an interesting description and breakdown of what a relationship is. So I want you guys to think to yourself, right, getting involved, getting in tune with the podcast. What do you think a relationship is? What is a relationship to you? How do you see a relationship? What kinds of relationships do you have in your life right now? And when I'm going to talk about the most common types of relationships, or the types of relationships, not the most common, but the types of relationships. And for this episode, and even whilst we dive into it, I want you to think, what are the 2 most valued relationships in your life? Let's say 3. The 3 most valued relationships in your life. So let's say you have a spouse or a significant other, a partner, and that's one. But let's think about 2 other people outside of that that you value. What is the relationship in your life, those 2 or 3 that you value? And with that thought, I want you to think about, why do you value those relationships? What do they bring you? And what do they do for you? Be a little selfish here with this one. What do they do for you? Why do you value those relationships? What is it about those relationships that you value? And I think sometimes. No, but I think that while you're thinking about that, it'll give you some insight and awareness to what it is that people really bring to your life, and like help, how to, and benefit. How does it benefit your life? I think you'll kind of look into it, and hopefully it doesn't do the opposite and say, oh, why do I have this person? Why do I value this relationship? This is toxic. I mean, that could be enlightening too. That's okay. We're right. We always flip the script. We're optimistic here on this podcast. And that's a positive thing. If we kind of get some insight into it and we figure out that it's not the best type of relationship or something that we want to be around or have in our lives, that's okay. We're creating this positive environment for ourselves with the growth mindset moving forward. So maybe we need to create some distance between us and that person. And that's okay too. But I think it'll create this insight into your grateful thankfulness for these people, and possibly you extending that to show appreciation and tell them how grateful you are for them. If you guys listen to my episode on commitment and the what was it? The article, the quote from the article from the New Yorker that I read to you was that the psychologist, not the author of the article, but he quoted this psychologist that talked about how writing a thank you letter or I am grateful letter to somebody, letting them know how grateful you are for them, can instantly give you a happiness boost. I'm quoting that, a happiness boost. So I don't know. This is all kind of intertwined together, right? And I want you just to kind of give that some thought as we kind of dive into these relationship types. And my goal for this episode is to just bring awareness, as always, but just to kind of shed some light on the different types of people in our lives and why or how these relationships affect us in different ways and how we see them, where they go or where we want them to go, how they affect us, all those things. So hopefully you can do that. Yeah. So let's go ahead and dive in. Personal relationships. That is the first kind I'm going to talk about. Personal relationships. And I should say this. I'm going to talk about two things with each type of relationship. When I bring up these relationships, I'm going to talk about the foundation of the relationship, what builds the relationship, and then maintaining or keeping that relationship. So those two different areas within these relationships. So we're kind of peeling back the layers here like we like to do here on The Reflection with Preston James. Okay, so personal relationships, family. What's the foundation for family? Well, communication. We got to have communication with everything. We've talked about that. That is like the running thread through all the episodes is communication is key, especially when having relationships. But with family, it's huge, right? Traditions are huge. Keeping that family tradition is also a huge thing with having a foundation and building on that type of relationship. Shared values and differences. That's a huge part of the family dynamic, right? We got to accept each other's differences. We're blood, right? Even if we're married into it, that's their family now. That's it. It's official. But communication, traditions, and shared values and differences, that's the building block and the foundation for that relationship, right? And maintaining that relationship, got to have forgiveness. Forgiveness is a huge one, especially with your significant other. But forgiveness from a cousin or a sister or a brother or an aunt and uncle, got to have forgiveness. People do fucked up things sometimes, and a lot of the times they regret it, right? They get caught in a moment and something happens, whatever, and we should forgive people. I always say forgive, we don't forget. And I know I talked to Johanna Derbolowski in the third episode when I interviewed her about her book. I said that I like to think of it as like that saying, shame, first time, shame on me, or shame on you the first time. First time, shame on you. Second time, shame on me, right? Third time, shame on me again. So like, I forgive you, but I don't forget it. So we can move on, move forward, but I'm definitely not going to forget it moving forward. So it's not shame on me. Anyways, forgiveness. You have to resolve conflicts, right? This is how we maintain this family relationship. Resolve the conflicts as soon as possible. Right? Set aside, make quality time for each other. We have to conversate with each other. Like I said, communicate, have these traditions, shared values, but we also have to create that somehow. And that's making quality time, setting aside that time for family. Because family at the end of the day is all we got. That is all we have. My mom is the family glue. She's the person. I'm sure you guys all have somebody that's the glue in your family. My mom is definitely that person for us. So, yeah. Okay, so making that quality time. Also, around that time, right? They're around that quality time, and that's extended. Sorry, it kind of was a weird transition, but that's extended with that quality time, and that's like meals and holidays, phone calls on the regular, right? Reunions, things like that to maintain that family communication and consistency of that relationship. Meals, holidays, phone calls, reunions. You got to keep it up. It takes work. It takes effort. All relationships, especially if you want them to blossom and grow and have that growth and that positivity, right? You got to nurture it. You have to nurture it. But those are the things you can do, right? Get-togethers and family reunions. I don't think they happen enough for a lot of people. I've met a couple of people whose family does it once a year, and I think that's a great thing. I know that's usually not feasible or possible for most families that I've met, but if it is, that's a great thing to do. Another type of relationship under the personal relationship tree is friends. Friends, right? Got to have communication with friends. But what brings friends? What's that building block and that foundation for friends? Common interest, right? That's how we initially start a friendship, is we have common interests. We have things in common, right? You got to also be approachable. You can't just have, to have a friend, I'm not going to befriend someone who's like an asshole, right? You got to be approachable, be willing to have a conversation, being able to talk to somebody. Common interest, being approachable, and care and kindness. Right? I don't want to be friends with somebody who doesn't care about anything and isn't a kind person. Why would I mess with you? I'm not going to fuck around with anybody like that. I don't want that in my life, especially at this age for me. Right? It's all about positivity. I'm going onward and upward. I'm trying to better my life. Right? I think that should be at any age, but definitely at this age, we've learned some things. You know, Carl Jung, the famous psychologist, said that life is just research until you hit the age of 40. And I'm almost at 40. And he says that life is research until you hit 40. So that means that all these experiences and things that you've done and accomplished or lack thereof or whatever that you've gone through, that's just research. At 40, that's when life begins. That's when life begins. That's just his thought. So if we're just doing research, do what you got to do to get to where you need to be so you can do what you want to do. So yes, care, kindness, being approachable, having common interests, right? Maintaining these relationships, communication, like I've said, talking or hanging out frequently on a consistent basis, having special occasions, outings, meals, celebrations, getting together for birthdays, having outings, getting a babysitter for the kids, and doing that for your loved one and significant other, but we'll get to that in a second. But also just taking the time out to go hang out with friends, go have a good time, go have some drinks, go see a movie, go out to dinner, just do some bowling, some laser tag, some putt-putt, just something fun, right? That's how we maintain those relationships. We also maintain them by having emotional support, being there for one another. You gotta be there to support each other. That's also any relationship in my experience, just having support. But especially with a friendship is emotional support. When someone's down or even when someone's up, being there to support them, supporting them. And the last one on this personal relationships tree is romantic. Ooh, dun, dun, dun. I saw a study again. I think it was in the Atlantic this time, that magazine. But the Atlantic said that, I don't know, it was a weird statistic. It was, you know how some of those are worded? They're just kind of worded weird. And you're like, what does that even mean? What are you trying to even say here? What was this pool, this selection pool you had? But basically it was saying that 61% of single men out there are looking for a partner. And like 42 or 48% of single women out there are not looking for a partner. I think the article basically, the umbrella or the idea suggested that relationships just aren't a common interest for people right now. People are not interested in having a stable relationship. Like if they were to get in one, fine, but they're just not, that's not what they're looking for. I think that's what the article is trying to say, to steer towards. It's just that's just not something that people are looking for right now, which I thought was very interesting. Not sure what that says about humans in society right now. Not sure. But nonetheless, it was interesting. So romantic foundations for the romantics. For the romantics is building trust. That's a big one, you guys. Having trust for somebody. And I've always told people, I used to ask people, what do you think the number one thing is in a relationship that you need to have, like for a loved one or a partner? And most people, I'd say 98% of the people would say trust. And I'd say, you're right. I agree with you, but I don't think that's first. I think you got to have communication first. Communication builds trust. If I can't even talk to you and have a conversation, how am I going to establish trust? Right? Building blocks, people, one step at a time. You got to have one thing before you have the other, right? Building trust. Open communication, constant open communication about things. If you can't openly communicate with the loved one or your partner, then that's that's not a good sign. You should be able to do that freely without fear of judgment. Being able to be yourself. That's such a key ingredient, as I've learned as I've gotten older in my experiences. Just being able to be yourself and knowing that person loves you day in and day out for being you, truly being you. As goofy and silly and weird as you are, or as weird as you think you are, that person loves you to the core. And for me, I have that person. Vanessa is that person for me. Man, I told her everything. I've been in relationships. Shit, I've been married before and haven't told somebody as much as I've told Vanessa, and trusting her with who I am as a person, in and out, to, like I said, to the core. And that's a lot to openly communicate with somebody. That's a lot of trust too, right? So you're building trust, you're openly communicating, and you agree, and you have shared expectations. That's another one, right? The word expectation to me is so loose, because if you expect something, you're kind of setting yourself up for failure and letdown. But overall, I agree with it, right? Agreed and shared expectations for the relationship and where it's going and what you want out of life, and where you guys want to go and move toward together, how you want to grow more or less, right? The vision you guys have or are sharing together, and some common interests. That doesn't always have to be the case, but that's another foundation, is just having some common interests. Common interest is not, I was just trying to think about my relationships, and it's not like you always don't have to share interests. That's not what it is, right? You don't always have to have interests in a relationship like that. Like, it's like the term opposites attract, right? Some people who are in relationships and have been in relationships for a long time together don't even have that many common interests. Opposites attract. So that's okay. There isn't like this prerequisite that says you have to have interests that align to be with somebody and to love somebody, right? I also think that you don't really choose the person you love. It just kind of happens. I've asked my students before, like my middle school students, they'll, because I'll say, oh, you should go sit next to Elijah. And some girl will be like, ew, no, I don't want to sit next to Elijah. I'm like, you don't like Elijah? No, mister. And I'm like, not like that. I'm like, how do you know you don't like Elijah? And they'll say all these middle school things. But I say to them too, it's like, you guys don't ever get, like, if you hang out with somebody for long enough, like at first you're like, there's no way in a million years that I would date that person or be with that person romantically or intimately. And then I do not say that to my middle school students, but I basically make the point that if you hang out with somebody long enough and you get to know somebody, that personality can be very attracting and gravitating. It can pull you in without you even knowing. I know that's happened to my friends. I know that's happened to me. It's like a person you never thought you would like or date, or like I said, be intimate with, but you hung out with them enough time just because of happenstance and just they happen to be around the people that you hang out with, so on and so forth. And you just get pulled in. Their gravity, they just pull you in. And it's just like now you're somehow tremendously attracted to this person. So no, you don't have to have common interests. That was my whole point. But again, romantic relationships can also be complicated. So, but just building that trust, having open communication, having agreed upon or shared expectations and some common interest, right? Communicating consistently will maintain that relationship, right? That's the common thread here. All right, moving on to the next one. I talked enough about that. So the next one, professional relationships, right? The first tree we were talking about, I'm calling them trees, not sure why, but the second tree is professional relationships. And the first one is colleagues and peers. Colleagues and peers. Collaboration. Building colleagues and peers to have that relationship even take forth a momentum is to have collaboration. Got to have effective collaboration, being able to work with somebody, right? You got to be able to support and help when needed, right? It doesn't just go one way. Like if you want to have an effective team, you have to collaborate with people. And most of the time, most jobs in the world require you to collaborate with people. So you're going to have to support each other, right? The more you work with people, the better the mission, the better the job. It's like some people want to work so independently they think they can do things by themselves, but it's like we all need help sometimes. So in these jobs, we have to effectively work and collaborate with people to get the job done, the best job for the job. So like for me, with engineering at the Laughing Buddha recording studio, if I think I would get some really good insight from another engineer, I'm going to call that engineer. Yo, Taylor, man, what do you think I should do with this kick and bass? I cannot get it to sit good in the mix. I've tried X, Y, and Z techniques and I just can't get it to work, right? Collaborating together, getting help from somebody else, not having that ego that's so big not to be able to collaborate and work as a team to accomplish the job, to get the best sound for that artist and that song. I'll do what I got to do to make sure that it sounds the way that it should, that I feel like it should as a professional, right? So what else? Respected boundaries, commonalities, right? These are the building blocks, the foundations of establishing this coworker relationship, this colleague peer relationship. Respected boundaries and commonalities, right? You guys are all there. That's a commonality right there. It's just working there at that job and doing that task is a commonality in and of itself. Maintaining this is communication again, right? Professional communication, which definitely looks different than personal communication, right? We all know the lingo to keep in the office or the workplace. So you have to keep that professional, but communicate effectively and consistently. Growth, have achievement recognition or growth recognition. It's like when someone does something good or accomplishes a task, they should be recognized for it. If you completed something and you did it well and effectively, you should be recognized for that. Again, that maintains that person's worth, that maintains the relationship. It benefits the overall. It benefits the relationship, but it benefits you and that person, right? Because when it's your turn to be appreciated and recognized, you want to be recognized for that good work. I know everybody does, right? Some people are like, oh, it doesn't matter to me. But let me say this, it feels good. When you're recognized for a job well done, it feels good to be recognized for it, right? All right. And then maintaining this also contribute to team environment. You must pour into the team environment. So don't be that person that's just always in the corner or doesn't want to work with people. I'm not saying you have to go out to lunch with these people and be with them all the time, but when things are happening, people are collaborating, you should participate in that. And maintaining a positive growth mindset as a whole, right? You're growing as a team, you're working together, you might as well maintain that positive growth mindset, right? This podcast is all about that growth mindset. This is no different, right? Again, I did my research on this. This is some of the research I found. I'm just feeding back to you, and I put my own spin and twist of life experience and opinions on it, right? It's not the end all be all and what is and what, there's no certified stamp on this is what it is. Okay. Next one in the professional relationship realm and tree is mentor-mentee. Ooh, mentor-mentee. Foundation to keeping this. Someone's experiences aligns with your goals. So an example would be like a painter that you want to learn painting from. So they are the mentor. You are the mentee. They're going to teach you how to paint. For me, it'd be like an engineer I look up to. So their experiences aligns with my goals. So my goal of becoming a better engineer and trying to do something better and accomplish maybe a task, that their experience will help guide me there. So they are my mentor in that regard, in that sense. A willingness to learn. The mentee must have a willingness to learn. If you don't have that willingness, then that's going to be a really hard relationship to nurture, right? And remember, this is all about building and having a foundation to these relationships, these types of relationships. So you have to have that willingness to learn. And last but not least, for the foundation for this is respect and acknowledgement. Respecting the mentor, but they also need to respect the mentee and acknowledge each other's place in that relationship. I am the mentor, you are the mentee, right? And respecting that kind of known placement or known, what's the word I'm looking for? I don't know, but I think you know what I'm saying. All right. And maintaining this is respect of time and skill. I must respect that mentor's time, respect somebody's time. You should always respect someone's time. It's not just the mentor, but the mentee as well, right? The mentor should respect the mentee's time, but more so the mentee, because you're trying to learn the things from the mentor. So respect their time, respect their skill, respect their craft, what they're giving you, their experiences, right? Have gratitude, be grateful, be humble, have humility, right? Understand that they are teaching you and helping you. So be grateful, right? That's another thing we need to practice more of, is just being grateful for things. I'm not saying that we're not, but it's good to show that to people and let them know that we're grateful and thankful for them and their expertise and their mentorship. Applying these learned skills to show growth. So if I'm being taught and I am taught by an engineer how to do certain things on a song where with this kick and bass, and then I apply that learned knowledge from them, I apply that learned knowledge, that's showing my growth. That's giving them kind of that credit, right? They're seeing me grow as the mentee. They're seeing my growth happening. And that's applicable to any mentor-mentee relationship. The next one is client-customer. Client and customer. This is something I've been learning a lot about in the last year with opening my studio. So client-customer. I know, at least in my experience, Apple and Amazon, and this is not a paid promotion, have some of the best clients, like customer service that I've ever experienced. It is so easy working with them. And this isn't every single time, but 99% of the time, I would say. It is so easy and just they make it easy to do a return. If I have an issue with the product, they just are on top of it. And it doesn't take a long time to get a hold of somebody. They make it easy, very user-friendly on their websites and their platforms. It's, user ease for sure. Yes, client-customer relationships. So having excellent service, right? I as a business owner running the studio, know I need to have excellent service. And that's what Apple and Amazon provide in my experience, is excellent service. Understanding the client's needs. What do the clients need from you? What are they coming to you for? Right? Have that excellent service, but understand what they're coming to you for. And I also believe that that's established through communication. Communicate clearly about what it is that you're wanting. If a client comes to me and wants, I just want a good sounding vocal. All right, cool. You want a good sounding vocal? I got you. Do you want it sounding more like this or more like that? Like giving them examples so they can point me in the direction of what they specifically want. So I can tailor it to their needs specifically. And that goes with clear communication. But also building this foundation is respect and acknowledgement for the client or the customer. Respecting them, right? That just I think that's kind of common sense for having a business, and my customers is respecting them and acknowledging that they are right. I love that saying, the customer is always right. Is that 1,000% true through and through? No, we know that. But 9 times out of 10, it is true. They need to be right, and you need to work around that and make sure that they're satisfied. We all know those people that are just unsatisfiable, but we have to somehow figure out some sort of resolution and solution to come to an agreement to make them happy, especially if we want to have a successful business, because that's not going to be the only time we deal with those types of people, right? They're going to be consistent. Okay, moving on. Sorry, I'm flying through this. The last type of relationship, or the big ones, is community relationships, right? We've talked about personal relationships. We've talked about professional relationships. And now we're talking about community relationships. I was talking to my mom about this, and just so many people are involved in your community, from your neighbors, which is the first one I'm going to go into. But we're talking about the postman, people at the grocery store, the liquor store, restaurants. Like, these are people, especially if you see them more often, like if you go to a certain restaurant every week, or you go to the same grocery store and you're all the time, like twice a week, then you're going to see the same people. So this is part of your community. Having growth and positivity in your community. This is all part of it, right? This is what the podcast talks about. And this is what I mean. This is your community, your neighbors, the people at the stores that you go to, that you shop at. Like it's all part of the community. It's all part of the community. So the first one we're going to talk about is neighbors. Having a foundation with your neighbors and having a good relationship is, first of all, you got to have an introduction. You got to introduce yourself. Some people aren't, you're not as social, but like when Vanessa and I moved into this apartment here in Redondo Beach, I, being the super social butterfly that I am, want to introduce myself to the neighbors next to us and below us. And just said, hey, you're new neighbors. Let us know if you need anything, and vice versa, and kind of just chopped it up there for a second. But just introduce yourself, right? That's creating that foundation or building that relationship, right? Even if you never talk to them again, at least you've established that kind of foundation to know that your neighbors are friendly and neighborly, right? And that's not a bad thing to have ever. So going to community events, being involved with community events. Now, I don't know. I've never lived in a neighborhood where that was really the case, except for when I was a kid. Like there would always be community things going on my block that I would always hang out with people and some of the adults on the block. Like they would have like barbecues with kids and all the neighbors. So that kind of stuff, right? That's always, especially if you live in a neighborhood like that kind of that fosters that encourages that type of a community. I think that's awesome. Definitely take part in that. Kids don't play outside as much as they used to, as much as we used to growing up. So when those types of events and community gatherings come about and happen, I think we should definitely take advantage of those, especially for our kids. And help out when needed. If you see a neighbor struggling, help them out. Help them pick up their groceries. Help the old lady across the street, right? That's the age-old saying. I'm going to kind of throw a sidestep in there that some people say that you're not just helping the old lady across the street to help the old lady, right? You are helping the old lady across the street to help her, but it actually is making you feel good about yourself. So you're not really doing a duty for her. You're doing it more to support your need of wanting to feel good about yourself. And I say, it doesn't matter. If you're helping somebody, that's a win-win situation. That's okay. It's cool to do a deep dive psychologically into those, like philosophically. But at the same time, it's a win-win for both people. Both parties win, right? So yeah, help out when needed. You see someone struggling, especially your neighbors, help them out. Maintaining these relationships, friendly communication, right? Consistently having that communication if you want to. This isn't something that I feel that you have to do all the time. But if you see him, friendly hello, how's it going? How's your day? How are your holidays? Right? I just talked to my neighbor about his holidays. Just shooting the shit. Respecting of space and shared spaces. Know that, especially when you're in an apartment complex, you got to acknowledge that you're in a space that you all share. So like bumping your music isn't necessarily the best thing to do all the time. Sometimes it's whatever, especially being having a music background and doing music for a living is, sometimes maybe that's just what it is. But I have to also respect their space and the space that we share together. So respecting that space. And also cleaning up after your dogs. That's the one thing that people do that kind of drives me crazy, especially being a dog lover. Like pick up after your dog. We all share that space in an apartment complex. What? Like, come on, you should know by now, especially if you have a dog, you have that responsibility. Bring a bag with you. Once in a while is whatever. But on a consistent basis, again, this is a shared space. So to maintain a good, healthy relationship with your neighbors, pick up your dog's poo. Just do it, please. I know we all forget too, so I get it. But, and then resolve any conflicts that come up. Always have kind of this very cordial, be cordial with your neighbors, being able to communicate with them at a professional level, I guess, at a neighborly level mindset. Just being able to resolve any type of conflict, like if they want you to turn the music down. A good example is I actually hit my neighbor's car. The first day of school this year, my kids were first day at their new school, first day back for me at teaching after the summer, and things were chaotic at my house. If you can imagine getting these two kids ready, getting them to school, and then trying to get to work on time for the first day. I did not want to be late. So being new to the apartment complex, I didn't gauge the distance right when I backed out. I back out on a busy street, and I brushed the back of her car. She has like this nice Audi SUV, and I just scraped it. And we still haven't resolved it. But that's a whole different discussion for a different day. And she's cool about it, but But I went to her and said, hey, I'm really sorry. I hit your car this morning. It was a crazy morning. And she was nice about it, but she definitely was like, all right, we're moving forward. Let's get this fixed. And I was like, yep, let's get this fixed. And hopefully sooner than later, that does get fixed. But just resolving conflicts smoothly and in a neighborly fashion, I guess I should say. And then the social groups. It's another one, right? We have neighbors and we have social groups. That's like clubs, joining clubs. You get together from like things like meetup.com. I think I talked about when I met up with local producers and engineers in Denver to get familiarity with people in the industry, how things work, how other people work, how you get clients, how to move a certain way, and just how to do things better, how to be a better producer and engineer overall. So I went on to Meetup, the app, and met up with people. So joining clubs, that's how you build that and create a foundation, right? Get-togethers, having shared activities with these people, keeping that kind of going and maintaining that. You actively participate in those monthly or weekly meetups. Consistency, contributing to those positively. So bringing something to the table, sharing your experiences, willing to help other people who may be new to that group that you've joined, and helping them. This could be any type of social group, including like an NA or an AA meeting. Ooh, just went a little different route there, didn't I? Didn't see that coming, did you? But any type of social group, right? It's communication, actively participating in those, sharing activities together, and contributing at a positive level always being positive, right? Nobody wants to, we've established that on every single episode, nobody wants to be surrounded by negativity. And if they do, that's not a person that I want to be associated with. I'm sorry, I've met people like that, and I truly do like them as a person at their core, but their negativity is just fucking draining. It is draining and it's heavy. You can feel it in the room. Oh my God, I'd rather instead of sharing a room, I'd rather be in a broom closet than be in a room with a person that has like this heavy negativity. So social groups, and that's it. Those are the groups I wanted to go over today. And hopefully you guys took something from this and can think about those questions I asked you at the beginning, which were, I wanted you to think about 2 people or 3 people you most valued in your life and why you value those people. Why do you value those people? What do they bring you? Happiness, joy, negativity, positivity. What do they do for you? And if these are people who really contribute to your life in a very positive way, I tremendously encourage you, greatly encourage you to let them know. Write them a letter, an email, send them a text with a bunch of heart, thumbs up, prayer hand emojis, right? Whatever you want. But just letting them know sincerely how much you appreciate them and are grateful for them, right? That's going to give you a happiness boost, according to that doctor, that psychologist from the New Yorker article that I talked about. But it's also going to really nourish and promote and build and maintain your relationship with that person or those people. So I really encourage you to reach out to those people, especially if they're family members and you don't do it as often as you know or think you should. One of my boys, Aaron, who is an artist I worked with, Aaron, he told me, he said one day, we were talking on the phone, and he was like, bro, I had to call you. And I was like, oh, what's up? He's like, oh, nothing, man. I just wanted to check in. Someone once told me, this is him speaking, he said, someone once told me when you think about somebody or talking with them, just do it right then on the spot, because otherwise you're going to forget and you won't do it. And then days, months, even years go by. But it's like, if you think about talking to somebody or reaching out to somebody, you need to stop right then and there and do it. Shout out Rico Law, my boy Aaron, Rico Law. Appreciate you. Thank you for telling me that, because I do that. If I'm thinking about it, I try to do it right then and there. Call them or text them, because we should really do that, because we all know how life gets, and we can put that by the wayside and some of these relationships we value more than we say or like to admit. And we should change our thinking about those and really reach out to those people and let them know how we feel. So hopefully you guys got a lot from this episode. Like I said, it's technically episode 7. I was going to call it a bonus episode, but we'll see. I don't know yet. It's up in the air. But yes, the common threads, having communication, being clear and honest, active listening, thoughtful questions with each other, communication. This is all the relationships, having respect for one another, honor boundaries, right? This is the thread that runs through all these different types of relationships, which is professional, personal, and what was the other one I said? Professional, personal, and community relationships. So communication, respect, honoring boundaries, being clear and honest, active listening, being thoughtful, sharing kindness, being positive in those relationships, having trust, building trust, having reliability. Reliability is a big one. Accountability, right? Don't break promises, right? I wrote that down because a lot of us, I used to make a lot of promises and then not necessarily break them, but just like fall short on them. And they were just kind of half-assed promises, and I just don't like doing that. So follow through. If you make a promise, follow through. And that also has that trust value behind it, right? Support one another. Have lots of support. That's a big one. And any of those relationships, especially in the professional realm and the personal realm, and growth. Got to have growth. All types of relationships got to grow. The world is constantly changing, right? That's inevitable. Change is inevitable. Everything is constantly changing. Doesn't matter what it is, your body, the world, everybody. You can't name one thing that's not constantly changing. Change is inevitable. So with that change, growth should happen, right? You have to work with each other along the way to build your relationship. To have growth. It should always be growing. It should always be getting better. You need to nourish that. You need to nurture it. Love it. Feed it what it needs to grow, to blossom, to be better, to get better. Have that positive mentality and that optimism to make sure, to ensure that it does grow and change for the better, to benefit you and the other person on the other end of that relationship, whether it be personal, professional, or community-based. I really, really believe in that too. I want you to think about one thing before I am done with the podcast today. I want you to ask yourself how you can make your relationships better. I started it off by saying that who is the most valued person, why you value them in a relationship, or what they bring to the table. But how can you make it better? Right? Is it sending them that text or calling them and letting them know, having that gratitude and being thankful for them? But how can you make something better? How can you help the situation now and moving forward in any type of relationship? I want you to think about the people in your community that you see on a daily basis, weekly basis, monthly basis, the people you don't talk to that you wish you talked to more. I want you to think about this and how you can make something better, how you can make that situation better, how you can help the situation overall. It can be anywhere from being more active in your listening, being more caring, being more kind, applying that to all facets of your life, giving space, creating more space, or giving less space, being closer with somebody. And right, the one that I like to talk about, communicate more. Communicate on something, how it makes you feel, maybe. Tell somebody how you feel, right? All of your feelings in a relationship, and I've talked to Vanessa about this, all your feelings in a relationship, especially romantic relationships, should be valid. It doesn't matter how silly or dumb you think they sound. If you feel that way in a relationship, if you truly feel that way, then your partner should take that seriously because your feelings are valid. They should be acknowledged. They should be recognized. They should be appreciated that you're even bringing that to the table, that you're having that vulnerability to grow, to express yourself, to let them know how you feel. So your feelings are valid. Don't anybody tell you different. If not, you need to question what's going on in that relationship. Try to fix something. Figure out why that person feels that way. that your feelings are silly or they don't really matter like that. Your feelings are valid. Thank you guys so much as always. And remember, always work as a team. It doesn't matter where you are, in the community, at work, in a romantic relationship, in your family. Work as a team, work together, collaborate. Build, grow. But thank you guys so much for tuning in. As always, I truly, truly appreciate you guys. Again, reach out to me for questions. Let me know what you guys think of the podcast overall. Let me know if you have some insight onto what I should talk about in the future. You can reach out to me through email at thereflection.pj@gmail.com, or you can reach out even on YouTube to the videos that I post of the podcast, which is at thereflection_PJ. And lastly, on any of the podcast streaming platforms. I know that Apple has the text feature, so you can reach out that way if you want to. I think it keeps your identity. I don't know if it does. I'm not even going to say that because I don't even know what it does. But just reach out to me anyway if you would like to. And the next episode, I think I'm going to do this. I'm going to do cultural differences. Right? And how cultural differences makes us better as a species and a people. Cultural differences. So look out for that one coming up soon. All right. I love you guys. Be safe. Stay positive. Growth mindset. Communicate. Love each other. Do the best you can. Set your goals one step at a time. You can do this. I believe in you. Do the best you can. And I'll see you guys next time.